Today I'd like to do a quick review of this particularly obscure Citizen Echo Drive. The model is Echo Drive Duo, and as the Duo in the name suggests, it has two ways of powering itself. The primary way is a solar subdial there, and that's the standard Echo Drive way. But this one also has a backup kinetic rotor, kinetic generator, much like a lot of Seiko watches. According to the manual, between the two, it was able to store power, keep going for 5 months with no light and no movement. Again, this was from the late 90s, so you have to keep those standards in mind. It's believed that Citizen was trying to do an upmarket version that was perhaps more durable than the standard Echo Drive, so this is what they released. And it was more expensive. I believe it was mostly limited to Asia, and they had only a handful of models that ultimately didn't sell well, and it was discontinued. The most interesting is probably in 2004 when they released a Campanola version of this, which must have been super expensive. And I have a link below that will take you to a Japanese collector who documents the different versions that use this B510 movement. This particular one I picked up from Yahoo Auctions Japan ages ago, and it was just because I've always been interested in obscure oddball watches where you really have to do a lot of homework to figure out anything about it. And this, as you can see, has a Mild 7 logo on it. Mild 7 is a cigarette company, and this is very common in Japan. You'll see a lot of cigarette companies have tie-ins with different consumer goods. I guess there's less of a taboo with it in Japan than it is elsewhere, so you'll even see it with more expensive things like this watch, though I imagine you'd have to smoke a lot of cigarettes to be able to acquire it through presumably some sort of coupon collection plan that they had. As far as functionality goes, it's nothing really to write home about. The 12 o'clock subdial is a 60-minute chrono counter. The 9 o'clock subdial is a 24-hour readout of the 12-hour hand, and this is just a running second hand. Interestingly enough, when you stop the chrono, it has this interesting way of resetting, which is relatively rare. So that's of note. But most importantly is the pretty blue dial. Depending on how the light hits it, it changes color, and it's really, really, really nice. If you're familiar with Seiko Citizen sports watches from the 90s, you'll notice more than a passing resemblance with Citizen's Mission Antarctica and Seiko's Landmasters. I suspect that's not a coincidence, especially with this beefy compass titanium bezel. I mean, the whole watch is titanium, but that bezel in particular is very reminiscent of Seiko Landmasters of the same period. I guess perhaps they were trying to compete with them, and they were coming up with a perhaps more rigorous or durable movement than the standard Echo Drive, but again, it just didn't really take. It was more expensive and just proved to be unpopular. So it was ultimately discontinued, and here we have this little footnote in history. And it's been in storage for a while, and I really forgot how really, really pretty the dial is. And again, there's a little bit of interest as far as the obscure Echo Drive Duo movement, but at the end of the day, it really didn't bring much new to the table, so it's not that surprising that it didn't work out. But if nothing else, I thought I'd present it to the world, so if anyone's interested, here we have it. And that's about it for this video, and as usual, thanks for watching.